A small band of heroes sets out on a quest regarding a powerful artifact, but bad guys that also want this artifact chase after our heroes. The heroes realize the power of the great artifact and fight over who gets to hold it. But in the end, they realize that no one should wield this destructive weapon, and they cast it out into oblivion as we review The Lord of the Rings. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review, actually, of Deep Space Nine Season 4, The Sword of Kahless, directed by LeVar Burton, written by Hans Beimler. How are you today, Cirroc?
I'm good. I'm doing well. I didn't realize it was a LeVar Burton episode. That's good to know.
This episode was written by J.R.R. Tolkien, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I see the connections, but there was LeVar Burton did this one, huh?
Right. Mm-hmm. Make a note of that. We do love our LeVar episodes. He does a great job.
Yeah, this is like I guess I was anticipating more. I thought this would be the beginning of the romance between Dax and Worf, because I know that eventually they're going to get to that point. Because I was at the wedding, ladies and gentlemen. I was there, so I know there's a wedding of some sort. But no, they didn't really get into their personal kind of feelings or connections. That wasn't really the storyline. It was more about absolute power corrupting and these kinds of curses that we often hear about on ancient artifacts from Egyptian mummies and ancient Aztec items.
Yeah, a lot of really cool stuff, and this is definitely one, when I watched it, that I was thinking we're going to have some fun talking about this one, because it's kind of stuff we do talk about when we're talking about ancient history and artifacts, when we're just talking about our own things. Before we get into all of that, we do want to make sure that everybody gives this video a like and or rating. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications. And patreon.com/the7th-rule is where you can find us. Also, a very quick shout out. I was looking over our very first roundtable, Cirroc. I don't know if you remember that, but it was just about 2 years ago now. And the first two people at our roundtable were Homer Frizzell and John Tuffarella. So we want to give a big shout out to the people that have been here, been with us,
Absolutely.
Supporting us from the very beginning and every day throughout. Big shout out to them.
Two legends, and as we would say in Los Angeles, OGs, the OGs of the Seventh Rule. So,
is that just an LA thing?
I don't know. I think it's caught on now, but yeah, I thought it started out here.
Could be, yeah.
But it has caught on and become some part of popular culture. The originals or original gangsters.
That's what it is.
As what we would call them. So yeah, they are the OGs of the Seventh Row podcast, and we appreciate your love and support, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Totally. And this episode featured your favorite Klingon. I remember you gave one of the best nicknames ever. Do you remember what it was?
You gotta refresh my memory. Tell me.
It was Kor's. You gave Cora a nice nickname a few weeks ago when we reviewed the previous episode. I forgot what it was called. Called him Kor's Light.
Oh yeah.
That's
Kor's Light.
Pretty good.
Nice. I appreciate that callback right there.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I thought in this episode, he's the actor that played him. I'm sure you can pull that up, but I thought he was just fantastic. He's great at the storytelling, which is a kind of a Klingon, even Cardassian type thing, where they're just these really great storytellers.
Right.
And that's what I enjoyed. I enjoy watching. That was one of the elements of this show that I liked.
His name is John Colicos. sounds Greek probably, but he was in the original series as a Klingon. Kor, Koloth, and Kang were, and so he comes back again. They were back again together in Deep Space Nine a few episodes ago, and now they're back again, or Kor is. So it's really cool that they keep using the same guy. Although I did check out a piece of trivia, which was Kor was also in Star Trek's The Animated Series, the original series, but it was not voiced by this actor. It was one of the many, many, many characters in the animated series that was voiced by James Doohan, Scotty. So he did most of the extra voices in the animated series. So this fella did not.
Okay, well, either way, I thought his performance was really good in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Loved him as the storyteller, loved him as the guy with this, who initially brings us on with this dream of the Sword of Kahless and gives us the introduction into the meaning of, how relevant it would be to Klingon society and Klingon culture. So I like the backstory there. I think in the beginning he had like an opening monologue where he said, "Greater than the torch of Gabak," or, something about Sabak's armor, and
yeah, he's quite a storyteller, right?
Yeah, even more prestigious than the Emperor's crown, and he went on through this whole thing. And I'm a fan of these kinds of episodes that look for things. They have this quest of trying to find that one thing that's very meaningful, the Holy Grail, for example.
And you're going to say that, yeah.
Right. In Indiana Jones, the Ark of the Covenant, the search for these things.
The Shroud of Jesus or the Christ or whatever.
Yeah. Right, which is called the Shroud of Turin, where it is
Turin,
now.
that's what it is, yeah. Turin. Yeah, and I thought of that, and I put that in my notes too, that it did actually remind me a little bit about the Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he said, when Jadzia said something like, are we sure it's the real one? And he says, of course it is. Look at it. Like he could just tell by looking at it, this is it. And that was in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, of course, they were wrong when they said that. They said, this must be the goblet because there are so many of them. And they picked the most beautiful and pristine one. And they're like, it's more magnificent than I ever imagined. And of course, it wasn't that. It was the simple whatever. So it did harken back and remind me of that. Obviously, this was totally different what they did with it, but it was cool. It reminded me of that cool scene.
Yeah, and then she also did like a geological survey on the item itself to trace that its ancestry, which is what we do with radiocarbon dating when we, find out how long things have been on this planet. So I thought that was cool. A little carbon dating, a little scientific detective work on the item itself, a little archaeology mixed in with science. So I thought that was a good application for Dax, not to mention the fact that she had this Klingon background in her lifespan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought she was a perfect vehicle to kind of be driving the story and also be present. So she didn't seem out of place to me, and actually it felt very natural that she was there.
Yeah, it was a good little crew. And at the beginning of the episode, I felt this way, and I feel like most people probably did, when they say, okay, the three of us are setting out on this mission, and we're kind of like, all right, cool, this is a good little crew. You've got Dax and Worf together, which already feels like it's a solid group. And then you've got the wise old Klingon, battle-hardened storyteller warrior, and it's just, when they get together, I was like, all right, I'm here for it. This is a good little crew. I want to see what they can do.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about it, and you knew it was going to be that kind of adventure. I think when they were in Quark's bar and Core, he basically gets everybody excited about the story, but when Dax says, "Let me introduce you to Core to Worf," and he's like, "I don't want to meet that guy. He's going to not like me.
He's going to be mean."
Yeah, he's going to be mean. So So she forces the introduction, and I really like the way Core kind of starts out like you treasonous scoundrel, low down, and you can see Worf getting like, all right, I might have to fight this guy.
He said a lot of things to him. Yeah, I don't think I took them all down, but yeah, he said, he called them like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I did. He says, Worf, the traitor, the pariah, the lowest of the low.
Right.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yes. No, then before he said pleasure to meet you, he said any enemy of Galron, right? So it's like, oh, because you are an enemy of Galron, you're a friend of mine. So Worf's beefs in the past, prior beefs, actually served to benefit him in this particular, but then also served to count against him when it comes to the House of Duras, right?
Right. And that was a character that was introduced in The Next Generation, but I believe it was played by a different actor. What was the kid's name? He was a a nephew of the Duras sisters or something like that.
Oh yeah, Terrell.
Right, that's the one. Yes. Yeah. Not to be confused with Terrell Owens or Terrell Davis. Do you really know Terrell Owens?
Yeah, I played basketball with Terrell Owens.
No way. Yes. He was a great basketball player. He's like 6'1", right? But I remember he was really good.
Player. Yeah, well, I mean, when you're built like that and you have the genetics that he has, it's pretty much you can do anything. I think athletic-wise, maybe difficult things with balance like ballet or ice skating or something might be difficult, but anything with his feet on the ground, baseball, football, basketball, with that physique, he can do whatever he wants.
Quick thing, one quick thing. Sorry guys, but we're sports nerds. Real quick, I'm a big 49er fan, and he was drafted by the 49ers. And in the preseason of his rookie year, it was before the season even started, but I was already a nerd that's like following everybody and learning who they are, who the new people are. And I'm walking around in the local mall in the Bay Area, and I see a dude that looks just like Terrell Owens. And I look at him, and my first thought is, and I see him, and he sees me, and I go, whoa, dude, you look just like Terrell Owens. And he gives me this big smile, and he kind of like nods and whatever. And I walk away, and I'm like, oh, wait, that was him. Obviously. I mean, he's on the 49ers, and this is the local mall. And he just joined the team. So he was probably like, oh, I'm already getting noticed. But anyway, that's how dumb I am. I was like, whoa, this guy that looks exactly like him, I'm going to let him know who he looks like. Anyway.
Yeah, it was him.
So back to the episode.
Yeah, you were making a reference about House of Duras and Terrell.
Right. Sorry about that. But yeah, so he was in one previous episode in Next Generation. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was, again, I think it was like trying, the Duras sisters were always trying to usurp whoever the chancellor was or whoever was in charge. So he was part of that. And so they already had, beef, in a previous episode. So that's how they knew each other. But I think it was good that they reminded us of his name, because if the actor was different, which I believe it was, then they always say, Terrell, it must be you, and you go, oh, okay, I get it. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit there. It was the story really was brought up to show that Worf is too human, or more human than he is Klingon, which is the fact that he was able to make himself vulnerable to the emotion of forgiveness, right? Or not carrying out his duty as a Klingon by executing Terrell as some kind of vengeance for something that happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so Worf. It's cool that they're already giving Worf a lot of character arc. More
Right.
so than he got in Next Generation and 7 Years of Next Generation. So it's really cool that
Right.
already, 8 episodes in, we're already knee deep into the story of
Mhm.
Worf, and that's great. It's really cool that they did that for that character, and he became this character that he was pretty one-dimensional in Next Generation, but in Deep Space Nine, they just blew him up and turned him into something amazing. Very multi-dimensional, a lot of
Mhm.
depth, and this is kind of one of those first couple episodes where we learn a lot about him. When he says he had the visions that Kahless came to him, and what he thought that meant, and his career and his life's goal. And I mean, we're learning all about who he is on the inside.
We are, and just as a side note, so around this time, obviously, he's just now being introduced in our cast in the fourth season, right? This is where we're all having to kind of add a new teammate on the team, and there's always that time of trying to build chemistry and personal relationships while you're working with an actor. And I can see that it was challenging for Michael Dorn. Not that he was challenged to do Worf, because he's already had that character down packed, and that wasn't difficult for him at
Yeah,
all.
he's an old pro.
He's an old pro. But the challenge for him more so was to like try to fit in with our cast, right? Because he'd already established himself on Next Generation. He has deep roots there. I think his heart truly still is there with the Next Generation cast. But he, he put his head down and did the work, and I want to give him his credit for that. I thought that when you watch these episodes, as we are doing, I think he really made a seamless integration into our cast, and I did it, at least on film. You can't see any problem that he had integrating with the rest of us. It seemed that it was seamless. It seemed like he was professional about it, and even though I'm sure he was dealing with his own kind of mixed
Hmm.
bag of feelings. So I want to give him credit for really just stepping into the role and blending in right away without any difficulty.
Right, and he has said in the past that it was kind of a difficult transition for various reasons. But like you say, you know, on screen, all we see is a great addition and
Hmm.
more depth and more characters and better storylines and just more, like it works. It's beautiful. It's just like the addition of the Defiant. It just added depth, and the character of Worf added depth, and yeah, to me as a fan watching it, it was very exciting. It was a great addition. So yeah, you're right. Like whatever was
Yeah,
going on behind the scenes, no, whatever, but the end result was a bonus, was a positive.
the end result was a positive. And the other thing I believe that his presence does, and in this episode makes that clear, more clear than any other one so far, is that he brings out something in Dax that
Mm.
I don't think has been truly activated. It is activated when Sisko has his old man moments with her, but I think it even has a different side and a different color to it when it's brought out through her interactions with the Klingons and
Mm.
her knowledge of that.
Mm. Yeah, it's great for Dax. It's it adds to the stories for all the characters really, but Dax more than any. Um, and it's also interesting to see, in subsequent episodes, how this affects Major Kira, because she was always like the first officer behind Sisko, and now there's kind of like this gray area of like, well, who's the second in charge here? It's kind of like Kira's second in charge on the station, and Worf is, second in
On
charge
the
on the
ship.
Defiant. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think they handled it well. I never really noticed any issues, but I don't remember if they ever actually verbalized it. You know, they actually like established it in canon what their exact roles are. We just kind of saw the result of it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with your assessment of it that, because the station has more ties to Bajor, that Kira would naturally be the person in charge. But when you get on a ship, because Worf has more experience being on a starship, he would then kind of outrank. So it kind of works out that way. I think they didn't really address it too much, but it seemed to have played out like that.
And we get to hear a tiny bit about the Hurq. That's the race that had this Batleth, which is kind of like a race that's mentioned here and there in Klingon lore, but we never really get to see them. Actually, there was a deleted scene that never made it to this episode where Worf talks more about the Hurq, and I saw it, and I forgot that it wasn't still in here. And he's talking about, the Hurq are here, and they make excellent movies. They made a movie about war, the Hurq Locker, stuff like that. And
oh God.
Yeah, no, it was great. No, it was like a pretty long. It was pretty long, And then he says, what else was he talking about? Other movies they have made. A buddy cop movie, Turner and Hurq. Okay, wait, I can do better.
Okay.
Let me think.
Okay.
There is also a movie. I do not remember what it is called, but they say Hercules. No.
Oh God.
They do not only do they do movies, Ben Hurq, but not only movies, they also make excellent television shows. Jake, our favorite television show that we always talk about, A Man Called Hurq.
I hope you're dead. I really do.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely. But anyway. So the Hurq, they're gone forever, but they do talk about how they eventually, because they're kind of disbanded, but they will get eventually reunited by Peaches and Hurq. No, okay, all right. Anyway, so moving on. But they also do a nice line of towels that you can buy for couples and stuff. They make them his and Hurq's towels for everybody to enjoy.
That was a little better. I'll give you that one a little bit.
Captain, incoming message. They say their favorite Starfleet officer is Captain Hurq.
Oh God.
And their favorite WWE wrestler is Hacksaw Jim. I messed that one up. All right, moving on.
Oh man, I was just waiting for you to tell us what car he drives, and I'm sure it was a Mercedes-Benz.
I was waiting. I'm like, I know Cirroc's going to jump in here. There's no way. You got Coors Light before. That's pretty solid. I knew you were going to toss something in.
Oh man. Oh man. All right. Well, now that we're completely off topic.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We'll bring it back. Well, they did actually add some words to the lexicon and some terms that are like coronavirus related stuff. Like when you go and get a coronavirus test, now they stick something up your nose. But before, initially, they would make you Hurq a loogie into a cup. And anyway, I think we're coming to our break real soon. So maybe we should just take a break here.
Yeah, I think we should have rehearsed this one before.
You think this deserves some rehearsal? I think it's best to just move it along.
But I will say this though, because you did bring up a point that I was going to highlight. And I always like to look at the origins of words and how they use words, whatever their words are. And ones that stand out to me, the one was obviously in this case was Hurq. And I do believe that it is a abbreviated version of the word Hercules, which also has, which is a Roman word that has Greek origin. So these are Greek and Roman gods.
Yeah.
So I just think that there is some kind of correlation between them using that and the Greek and Roman gods of Hercules and Heracles. So I
Let's
thought I'd
talk a
bring
little
it.
bit more about that on the other side because we do love that stuff. So we'll be right back on the seventh rule, and we'll stop making puns. Probably. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We've composed ourselves. We've gotten all the puns out of the way. Very quickly, here are the Trivioids that didn't make the cut because we didn't even really use one. We just referenced Lord of the Rings. Chief O'Brien doesn't care if Kor's story is true as long as he tells it well. Dax sets to authenticate a shroud that might have held the sword of Kahless. Kor gets his brain sucked out by that weird alien that attacked Julian. Lethian, I believe is what it is. Dax finds both Klingon and Hurq DNA on the cloth. Worf, Dax, and Kor go on a Lord of the Rings type adventure. Okay, we kind of got that. Kor sleeps like an Albanian cave sloth. The Hurq are the great plunderers of the galaxy. Kor uses the sword of Kahless as a fork. And Sisko trims his goatee with the precision of a bonsai tree.
Yeah, you gotta love that. I like that moment there too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Little bonsai precision.
So the Hurq was spelled Hurq. It's a really weird way of spelling it, but as soon as we hear Hurq, the first thing we think of is Hercules, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing you think of,
Yeah.
sure.
Who knows? But we've never seen this alien before. Star Trek Online has put together what they think an alien looks like. So that's the closest thing we have. That doesn't make it 100% canon, but Star Trek Online does, work well and talk well with CBS. So we can consider the Hurq to look like that. They're like these big, I don't know, crab aliens or something.
Okay.
Anyway, what were you saying? Sorry.
No, I wasn't saying much. I was just making the reference about the Greek mythology. I think Hercules was the son of Jupiter, and later became known as Saturn. So it's actually part of this whole mythology. And DS9 and all Star Trek really deals heavily in mythology, and whether it's Egyptian, Greek, Roman. So I just like to kind of highlight those things whenever I can see them. I'm sure there's more that are out there than I'm aware of, but
right. Yeah, there was a character in the original series called Apollo, and played by Michael Forrest, and he actually came and reprised his role in Star Trek Continues, their first episode. He reprised his role as, an Apollo 40 years later. So that was really cool. But yeah, you're right. They do put in Greek mythology, and I can't think of any others right now, but I know that they have. Roman mythology less, I think. That's kind of the same, but they just have different names for the same characters, generally speaking.
Well, yeah, the list goes on. Actually, I was thinking, for example, about Dr. Bashir and his first name being Julian. Julian being the Julian calendar, which refers to Roman emperor, I think Julius Caesar.
Yep.
So they are certainly using these particular words, whether they're just picking them out of a hat or not. I'm not sure, but it seems like they're aware of these things. I think Benjamin and Jacob, my character's name and my father's name. If you look at Benjamin, Jacob, and Joseph, our father, our grandfather, my grandfather, you see that they've all used these biblical names that are in the Old Testament, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's again, part of this biblical mythology. So I think there's so many small details there that really make that bring a level of depth to it if you start to go down each and every one of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, and that's something I'd never thought about or noticed until you mentioned it a while back when you mentioned those three names, and I had never made that connection or pieced that together. So that's really interesting. I would love to ask Rick Berman, and say, where'd you come up with these names? Were you just trying to were you just flipping through the Bible and you're like, this one, let's have a Lieutenant Jesus or something.
Yeah, I've asked that kind of a question before.
Oh, cool.
And the answer that I got was that Michael Piller knows the answer. And since he's no longer with us, then the real answer to that question won't really be revealed. But I believe that Michael Piller was aware of all of these things. And obviously he, these other things, like you say, going back to the original series and whatnot, those predate him. So somebody else would know the answer to those questions. But with the answer to Jacob and Benjamin and Joseph, that would be a Michael Piller. He would be best suited to answer that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also a little Star Trek thing that I notice, and this is kind of a funny thing that they always do, but whenever different races from different planets describe an animal, it always happens to be an animal that we have here on Earth, but then they always use Alvanian or whatever, but they always say, I slept like an Alvanian cave sloth, or I slept like an Arcturian sky beetle, or it's always something that starts with an A, Alviron, bat, or something. That's just a weird thing that I've noticed every once in a while, even when they say a toothless old Grishnar cat. They really hammer home so that we know exactly what we're talking about. It's a cat.
Right. No, I get that. I've seen that before. And along the same lines of nitpickiness, I found a small nitpick of my own watching this episode, and I was thinking, it's crazy how all aliens, no matter where they're from, they all fight in a similar fighting style of punching and kicking, right? It's like, they all went to the same school of fighting. There's nobody that fights in a weird, moving their hands in a weird way or something. Like, this is how we were taught how to fight on our planet, Now, everybody seems to have been taught.
Because those races have been conquered.
Right. The people that fight like this are not winning any fights. But it's funny because they all have these punches and these combos, and I'm like, or the two-hand punch or whatever it is, and you're like, wow, that thing really gets around the galaxy, these fighting styles. Bruce Lee must have been resonating around, an epiphany happened around the universe about Bruce Lee and how to fight like him.
Good point.
But the other reference, even in this episode, Worf talks about the domes of Kronos, right? He mentioned the first time that he asked his adopted parents if he could go back to visit his Klingon home world. He'll never forget the sight of the domes of Kronos. And Kronos, once again, for those that don't know, is another reference to mythology.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm sorry, Kronos is Saturn. I said Hercules was. No, Hercules is the son of Jupiter.
Yeah, he's a demigod.
Yeah, Kronos is also known as Saturn. Also known as the god of time, which is where we get
chronology.
Chronology and chronograph watches.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Excellent knowledge. I like that a lot. That's true. Kronos. I mean, it's spelled differently. Like, again, the Klingons, they spell it with a Q. They like to screw with language. But yeah, right. No, you're right. That's Kronos.
So just a little bit of knowledge in there. I did like the line. I thought this was the line of the episode for me, Ryan. And that was when Kor was telling the story about them catching that little cave rat, right? Yeah. And he was kind of going. He's like, it attacked us, and it had these guards. And he was starting to embellish the story that just happened right in front of our face, right? And of course, Dax catches on, and she likes it, so she starts to add on to the embellishment. And Worf, of course, has to, have rain on the parade, and it's like, I don't think you should be embellishing stories, and it's not fun, and don't do that. A real warrior doesn't have to embellish,
Yeah.
And then the answer, which I thought was just brilliant from Core, was the son of Moog is not amused. He says, "Well, what am I supposed to say when I get to your part of the story?" And Worf came along, and it was just
and along came Worf.
And along came Worf. And I really like that part because it's like, do you want to be? You're going to tell the story the right way, or are you going to just throw it away and make it just like it wasn't a big deal? We just found the holy grail of our country, right? And you want me to tell stories in a flat, boring way. I liked it. I liked his embellishing a little bit because it's true that when you tell a story, you should tell it in the right frame. You might have to embellish certain things, or you might have to highlight certain things that you think will make the story better. So talking about the time of day, or the way the sun was glistening, or the way, the waves were crashing, you probably put a little extra on it, but that's what makes storytelling.
Yeah. That's kind of like when somebody has a joke and it's like a really long story with not a very good punchline, but I guess it's because they're like, hey, the story is part of the fun. The punchline just kind of like something at the end, but this guy is quite the storyteller.
Yes.
Yeah, he's definitely, although it does seem that Klingons, they're kind of this weird thing where they're almost contradictory, where they try to act like they want to fight and they want to kill and they want to get down to business, but at the same time they also love stories and song and apparently now embellishment, but you would think that embellishment wouldn't be honorable. It is dishonorable to lie about one's achievements or whatever it is, but that's kind of what makes them so interesting. That's definitely one of the races that they have fleshed out the most in Star Trek.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought was kind of slightly, I mean, we knew that at some point that alien that read his mind was going to pop up out of nowhere and try to sabotage.
Lethian, yeah.
Right, Lethian. And I guess what I'm saying is that it was weird to me that on the one hand, Worf was talking about saving that Terrell's life from the House of Duras because he didn't deserve to die and it wasn't his fault and he was a boy, just a kid. But yet when he shows up to try to take that sword, I'll kill you fast and not even think about it.
Oh, that's the sword of Kahless right there.
Right. So he's like, you got to die. So I just thought that was funny. Like the guy that he was spared his life and this and that, and he ends up killing him without even a thought or an afterthought. Like, man, I didn't want to have to kill that kid. He just shouldn't have came for the sword. He didn't even give it an afterthought.
That's the power of the One Ring. It grabs hold of the minds of those who want to wield it.
Yes. Yeah. And then another part of the scene that I really liked in this episode was when they were walking on that ledge, and of course, Kor slips on the ledge and he's about to fall. Worf has hold of him with the sword. And I liked that moment because it was the two of them holding on to the same thing that they wanted.
Yeah.
And I just really liked that moment. I thought it was great. I also liked the way it was filmed in a way that, where Dax was asked, can you see the ledge? Kor said, can you see the ledge? And you could tell because she's also holding Worf that she doesn't have the angle to look over the edge. And as far as directing, shout out to LeVar Burton for pulling that off in a way that was very believable to me.
Right. That was all about blocking. It has to be, she even kind of like looked, she's like, I can't see it, because Worf had the angle to look down. But then afterwards, the kicker was that when they pull him up, she then looks, she's kind of like, well, let me just go make sure, let's see what's up for real. And she looks and she's like, that ledge would not have supported him. Worf.
It's not my fault that he's old and he comes and he falls. I did not push him on that cliff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, Worf, you're turning into a real jerk because of this thing. But it got a hold of him, and the power and the promises of grandeur and riches and celebrity because of being the possessor of this thing or the one who discovers it or turns it in. All of those things were like tempting them to step outside of their natural character and be tempted to be evil or malicious in their thought. But I do think that this episode actually left a very great window for the future writers of Star Trek. The guys that are doing stuff like Discovery now and Picard, because I believe that they've left a window where they can go back to that sword at some point, because we just saw it floating in space, and I really like that vision of it. Kind of remind me of the Tesla that Elon Musk sent out into space. So I like that imagery, it was just it was nice. And at one point or another, they could bring that story back.
That's true. They can. And, maybe they will. Maybe they'll just be like, what's this thing floating around? Although it's going to be tough for them to notice this tiny, 4-foot-long piece of space junk and to look at it. So, stranger things have happened, but you're right, that window is open if they ever want to, examine it, probably in Picard, because in Discovery right now, they're so far into the future that we haven't even seen any Klingons yet, right? Have we even heard? No. So for all we know, the Klingons are wiped out. They're gone forever, for all we know. But in Picard, that's certainly a thing. And Picard is knee deep in Klingon history.
No. I think in Discovery we did hear about some kind of alliance with the Klingons and the Romulans and the Andorians. Didn't we hear about some alliance that they had to defeat?
Yeah, but see, that was the mirror universe, and that mirror universe was in the past. Was back in the second season and first season era.
I'm just saying they did mention them. I'm just saying they did come up, and you gotta be at least recognizing the fact that I was able to remember that.
A week later.
A week. It was last week, but I do remember
like 3 days ago.
They were trying to defeat the Terrans.
That's true.
They did mention.
You're right.
The Klingons.
They had a really cool, crew where they said like the Romulans and the Klingons and the Tellarites and the Rigelians or something like that. We talked about that. That was pretty cool. Right. And we talked about who would be the boss, the Klingons or the Romulans. Yeah.
But so the Klingons have been mentioned, whether now the timeline, you're right, is in the mirror universe and whatnot, but just credit to Discovery for actually bringing him up at all.
Mm-hmm. Keeping him around in the conversation for sure.
Yeah. And that was also the you were talking about that scene, and Dax kind of pulls Worf's card and said, there was no way that dude would have landed on that ledge. But I liked Kor's answer when he just said, "You call that a ledge?" It was comedic, and actually there were other comedic moments. I thought, oh yes, we'll all just fall asleep like vigilant children while Worf.
Worf looks us over, or that was a great line. He was actually more comedic than anything else. He seemed like a little cutie, like just an old guy that just like, even when Dax said, you've had enough, or even Worf was a little bleary eyed or something, he just kind of like, hey, I'm just an old guy who likes to get drunk. Leave me alone. Hey.
Yeah, let me finish what's in my cup. I'll meet you over there.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
So I did notice that. He played it for comedy, but he also, when he got serious, you felt the gravity of his seriousness as well. Like he wasn't playing around with it either. He was dead serious about I think he said at some point, like, "I will die with this sword." When he was hanging on the ledge, he was like,
Yeah,
"No, this I'm dying with this thing." So
he's taking it with him.
yeah, I'm not playing around. I'm not. He's like, "Why don't you let go?"
You let go. No, you let go. And Dax is like, we can just pull him up.
Yeah,
Can we just do
yeah.
that? And then she shoots them both later on, which was great. Also thought it was a great little bit of stunts when Worf grabs him by, the scruff here and like lifts him up against it slams him against the cave wall, I actually rewound that like 3 times to watch the stunt. I was like, oh, that's a really good stunt. I mean, it was pretty good. He had him like a solid 3 feet above, the floor. So that was a really good stunt. I'm assuming that was the stunt doubles, probably for Worf, and most definitely for the 70-year-old actor to be up by his neck.
Yeah.
Certainly there. But it looked good. I liked it a lot, and that was something where I did a little mental nod to LeVar for, setting that up, making it look good, and making it exciting. It was cool.
Now I do have a little issue.
Oh boy.
No, it's not a big one. It's a very little issue, but sometimes when I'm watching these DS9 episodes that take place in caves, they're so dark that I can
Yeah.
barely make out what's happening, and I turn my brightness all the way up, and I'm
Yeah.
like, is it just me? Is it my computer? Or so I just want to put it out there that I just wish that the lighting was a little bit brighter in some moments in those caves. They can still pull off the cave effect, or at least have lanterns or something that they're holding to their face so that their face is lit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because I noticed the same thing. When they're in a cave, I'm basically just listening to it at this point, because you can't see anything that's going on. But maybe, have a tricorder out, have something to where you can have a little bit of extra artificial light, because I understand they don't want it to be bright because they're in a cave, but you've got to do something for us. Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to
think
say
so.
something, but maybe I should wear a tie for this one. Because speaking of, light and being in a cave.
Uh-oh. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Brace yourself.
Here it comes. Cooking a rodent in a cave when bad guys are looking for you would lead them right to you. Right? I mean,
Yeah, that'll do it.
They just would smell it. They'd be like, oh, they're over here. I can tell because it smells like Popeye's chicken over here.
Yeah, and not only that, but like you guys have been in that cave for what, like 8 hours? Are you that hungry?
I know. You can hold on
Was
for
it
a
like
minute.
you were in there for 3 or 4 days? Like, we're starving. What are we gonna do? It's called skipping a meal, guys. Before you eat cave rats. But yeah, I agree with you. That would lead them right to them. But my thing was the lighting. It's just sometimes I get into these episodes and there's moments when they're in these caves and I can't make out what is what. And the fighting scene, for example, occurred like that, so I couldn't see how I got a vague picture of the bat lift going in his chest and this and that, but there were moments where I just was like, is it me or?
No, it's not you. It's dark. I noticed it too. It was super dark, especially towards the end of the episode was when I really noticed it. I was like, I'm not seeing anything. I'm just seeing like shapes.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, even Indiana Jones knew to bring a torch with him when he went
Right.
inside the cave with the snakes. You got to have a torch, or you got to have a light source of some. Otherwise you're walking in the dark with cliffs, walking on ledges with cliffs. I mean, you'd have to have some light source.
All kinds of cliffs: Cliff Bar, Cliff Clavin, Heathcliff. It's just, and you don't know which one you're going to run into.
Yeah, Cliff Huxtable.
I was waiting. I was like, come on, that's the next one.
There it is. I got one. I gave you one. But yeah, so that was another little nitpick I have. I did like Worf's shocked face. He had a couple of facials, and he gets these great faces. I can't even remember the moment. It was just a moment where Core said something like, "Come on, let's go," or something, and the way Worf kind of looked over at Dax, I can't remember the exact moment, but it was so hilarious because he did one of these, and it was a shocked face, where his eyes kind of got bigger. And
he's great with his eyes. You have to be when you have that much makeup on. You have to really zero in on the eyes, and Worf is great with the eyes.
He is great with the eyes, and he's also good for that puzzled look on his face, like, I don't understand.
Yeah. He's always puzzled. He's always worried, but he also has almost like a childish look when he goes, "We'll be glorious." Like you almost like, oh,
yeah.
You want to pat him on the, you're right, Worf. Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Yes.
He's great.
so
we only have sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, we only have a couple minutes left.
No, I did like this episode. Once again, it's a little bit off the path of where they're headed towards with the Dominion and all of this stuff. Seems like one of those standalone episodes where they just throw it in there and they're like, okay, this is something that we can help, build character. I think it was made for the purpose of building on Worf's character and kind of giving him more to do as they establish his presence in this early season. But I liked the episode, and I thought it was pretty good.
So, actually, I still got one more nitpick. I don't know if we should do a bonus nitpick, but I feel like I got to get this one off my chest. I got to get it off my chest. I'm sorry. Here it comes. They said the Vulcans couldn't get into that main chamber of that museum, and they got in so easily. Jadzia and Worf and Core got in so easily. All they had to do was use the tricorder and reverse the polarity of something. Don't they know reversing the polarity of something is the oldest trick in the book? They even have a meme of Picard going, "Have you tried reversing the polarity of something?" It's the oldest trick in the book, and the Vulcans don't know that one? That's reversing the polarity, man. Come on, everybody knows that one.
Yeah.
They got in like 5 seconds, and they said, but the Vulcans the Vulcans are such idiots.
Yeah, they ransacked the whole place, but they couldn't figure that out. I guess, there's always going to be little holes like that. They were trying to make a play on the Egyptian pyramids, I believe, because
really
a
cool
lot of cool things were paralleled there. They even called it the hidden chamber, I think, if I'm not mistaken, which is exactly what the Egyptian pyramids called their hidden chambers, and the king's chamber and the queen's chamber. So they were definitely making a reference to the pyramids and to the way things were mummified and preserved in Egyptian culture thousands of years ago.
Yeah, and all joking aside, I thought it was really awesome. I thought it was really cool the way that Worf saw that the dust, was not going all the way. Well, I mean, that was really smart stuff. That was really cool. And of course, it did lead us, the whole imagery and the terminology does lead us to think of the Egyptian pyramids and finding these hidden chambers. And that's really cool stuff. And, every time you see an article that's something about a hidden Egyptian chamber, everybody clicks on it. We're like, ooh, what new little, historical artifact do we have? And we love that stuff. Before we hit our free-for-all, though, it's time. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
I'm going to say this was about a 7-7. 7 up.
Well, nice. I'll tell you, this was a 7.1 on the IMDb score. I guess people were like, we don't care about Klingon stuff. I don't know. It was good. Probably deserves a little bit better. But as a standalone episode, that's what they gave it, 7.1. We've got the free-for-all next. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. All of our fun associate producers and such.
Now, Ryan, did you have a Sword of Kahless shout out before we leave? Did you have somebody to shout out on the Sword of Kahless?
Yeah, we'll be doing it further down the road, but we'll absolutely do it right now as well. Let me look them up super quick. There are these people. They run a ma and pa shop, husband and wife shop. and it is unbelievable. We looked at some of their work. They're called Spitfire Labs. The website is spitfirelabs.New York City. Sorry, spitfirelabs.NYC. And it's mind-blowing. We'll talk a little bit more about it in future episodes as well, but Cirroc and I were taking a look at your stuff. If you guys are listening, your stuff looks awesome, and we're looking forward to talking with you further. So we'll take a quick break. We're going to hit the free-for-all, and we'll be right back on the 7th rule.
That doesn't even help. But I think after me, it'll be, let's see, first, let's go alphabetical, women first. So we would have Eve, and then Natasha, Sue, Yvette, and then gentlemen. So it'd be Cirroc, Ryan, Tim, Matthie, and then Titus.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the 7th rule free-for-all. That was Homer giving us all instructions that nobody will remember.
Were you recording that?
Yeah.
So, hi, I'm Homer Frizzell, and yes, welcome back to the 7th rule.
Hi, I'm Eve England from Wales in the UK.
Hey, I'm Natasha Louise from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Nice.
I'm Sue Gruner from Gainesville, Florida.
I'm Yvette Blackmon, Tom, and I'm from New York, New York.
I'm still and I'm right here in Los Angeles, California.
All right, and you're next.
Ryan.
Oh, sorry, I was having too much fun. Hi, my name's Ryan T. Husk. I'm in LA.
And I'm Tim Baum. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
I'm Titus Mohler, and I'm in Farmville, Virginia. So
pretty much what we're finding out is that everybody actually was paying attention and remembering those instructions except for me.
Yes.
Exactly.
I was like, nobody's going to remember those, and everybody did except for me.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I don't think I said where I was, so I wasn't very good at remembering what I was talking about.
Homer Frizzell out in Manhattan, Upper Manhattan, right?
That's right, Inwood.
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 So this is the free-for-all. We are joined by some very cool and awesome people that have just introduced themselves. Today we were reviewing the Sword of Kahless. I don't know if you remember that episode, but it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. We're talking about how many Klingons have names that start with a K, just like the Kardashians. So, I don't know, I feel like there should be a Klingon question, unless you guys want a Kardashian kind of question to go around.
How many apostrophes do they have in names?
Mm-hmm.
One.
I have a question about the Klingons.
Mm-hmm.
Have they ever been influenced by telepathy? Ever? Because
besides in this episode, right?
Besides this episode, I feel like this is the first time I feel like they were influenced.
There was in one of my favorite episodes in Next Generation, the Perfect Mate. He fell under the spell of the metamorph. So I remember that one.
Jansen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did forget about Worf because I was kind of focused on Picard. Sorry, girl crush.
That's a good question.
But that brings up another question, which is, had we seen these Lathian aliens before?
Yeah, the Lethians, I think, wasn't that the alien that did something to Bashir more recently and had him playing tennis and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But was there anything else?
I don't think so. I don't remember. I think that was the first time.
The Lathians always trying to recruit tennis players. Speaking of which, shout out to J.R. Poole, who is an avid tennis player, we found out recently. Oh. J.R. Poole and tennis go hand in hand. So, do you guys have a favorite Klingon not named Worf, Martok, or Gowron? I think that's a fun one.
Oh, what is her name?
And not named Lursa and not named B'Etor.
And not them.
Take them all off the list.
I really like Kor. I do really like Kor.
He's pretty awesome.
What about the Tiny Rom, the play?
Mayhardu?
The guy had the restaurant on Deep Space Nine that served the Gok. That I just know the actor's name, and I know he died too.
Yeah, the big guy, the really big Klingon.
Right, he played the instrument and everything.
He played the violin or some kind of violin-looking thing.
He sang.
He was in only 2 episodes, and then he passed away, sadly. Yeah.
My favorite is Hur'q from the House of Quark.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love her. She's gorgeous. She knew how to work Quark into strings. It's like, hey, come play my game.
I love Quark.
Yes, she did.
She's gorgeous.
She did.
Just love her.
What's Martog's wife's name? I like
Hellier,
her too.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Kalar?
No, not Kalar.
No.
What's her name?
Martok's wife isn't.
Oh, I thought you said Worf.
No, Martog's wife.
Oh.
I can't remember her name, but I liked her too. She was awesome.
She was a force to be reckoned with.
Corella.
Yes.
Corella.
Yeah.
Like Dalmatians, Corella? What did you say?
No, not Cruella.
Oh. That's what I heard, Corella. I was like,
Corella DeVille.
wrong franchise. Okay.
Corella.
Okay. She was great.
Oh, and Laurel, she's awesome.
She's worth it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Laurel.
Yeah, that just reminded me.
Which one is Laurel?
From Discovery.
Chancellor?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree with that because yes, she's great in Discovery, 100%.
So that was easy.
See her in the new one. Oh, we see her in the new Pike show.
We might. I mean, it's going to take place in that era.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll be back. I would like to see her again.
She might also be in Section 31. We don't know when that's going to take place, too.
True. It could take place during DS9. That would be great.
That would be cool.
It's not going to happen.
That would be nice.
It's not going to happen.
Or just afterwards, and we can get everyone back into it that way.
Right. Yep. That'd be great.
Homer, do you have a favorite Klingon that's not been mentioned?
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have really laid out a lot of good ones. So I can't do it, but Gowron. Yeah. He's a lot of fun. And I was just like, who is this guy? And he's kind of like, he sets up the Klingons as something totally different than what we're used to. So I like Gowron as a character, as a Klingon.
Yeah.
But Laurel, Hur'q, Kalar, all those are fantastic.
And don't forget Alexander.
I would. Though.
Yeah, Alexander is not in my top 5.
No. Top 20. No way.
When he was on Next Gen, I liked him a lot.
I'm not in anyone's top 5.
Watch Alexander.
Yeah, I'm thinking of little Alexander too.
Yeah, the little Alexander. Like, he was fun.
The one that took the mud bath?
The mud bath, yes. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. Yes.
That kid needed a timeout. It was horrible.
He needed a timeout.
Yeah, man.
Bad parenting.
And when he finally gets his dad to go to the holodeck.
He was a bad kid.
And then they get locked in.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Who was the worst kid in Star Trek? Like the one that needed a timeout the most, as Yvette says. Oh, it's Tim. Tim knows. Tim's got an idea.
Yeah, nobody's gonna like it. Wesley Crusher. I'm sorry, Will, but yeah.
He did get slapped.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, by his mom.
Shut up, his mom slapped him. I just watched TOS and watched Amanda slap out of Spock. I was like, oh, all the slapping is a big thing. They like slapping their kids.
What about Charlie X? Was he considered to be a kid?
Yeah, he was.
That was an episode when they were doing syndicated reruns back in the 70s. For some reason, Charlie X episode showed up once a week. Even though they had 3 seasons to pick from, I always saw Charlie X.
Titus, who's the worst kid in Star Trek?
Yeah, I was trending toward what Tim said about Wesley. That's probably the one that brings to mind the most. Yeah, I think Alexander, when they were so tiny in comparison to Worf, it was incredible. See this huge guy, this little boy. I thought it was great. It ironically put Worf in such an interestingly vulnerable position, somewhat like Picard. He didn't want to be around kids a whole lot, I don't think. Quick to say that yes, Alexander's better off at home with his grandparents, But yeah, Wesley comes to mind the most there. And my favorite Klingon would be Kor. I think if we're gonna X out Worf and some of the others, I think what Kor did. I think Michael Dorn put it well. Later on in the show, Cirroc, you have this to look forward to. There's some like Shakespearean level episodes that they do, and one of them is with Kor. Once more into the breach and life, and yeah, I think John Holocaust. I'm not sure I pronounced his name, but he did a great job.
Yeah, his favorite drinks are liqueurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so bad. That was actually quite funny.
Thank you for being so surprised.
You never cease to surprise us.
Yeah, I do.
Kor, yes, I do like him a lot. I think he's really great in this episode, and he's got all the Klingon qualities where he's super tough when he needs to be, but then he also has the ability to be reasonable, which is a little bit unusual, which I like. I like the reasonable Klingons.
Is that a thing?
That sounds like a country band. Reasonable Klingons.
Up next, ladies and gentlemen, Reasonable Klingon.
They come out with their like big pads, but like slacks. They're wearing slacks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, instead of bat lifts, they have those big Q-tip things that they had in American Gladiator.
Didn't Riker fight his dad with those once?
Yeah.
What's the name of that? Shout out to American Gladiators, though. Wasn't that the best show ever for a moment there?
That was pretty good.
I don't know.
No?
That's a dude thing. I don't have. Oh.
It's the guy.
I watched it.
I knew of it. I never actually watched it.
It's not the same as obviously our Gladiator, where they just had like wrestlers and they fought each other, and they had Wolf and people like that.
Yeah, Wolf. I think Wolf and 359, but there was a bunch of them. I think there was.
We had a
giant Q-tip.
Q-tip.
Yes, Q-tip, the giant Q-tip. Nitro. They had Nitro. They had a few guys. I remember.
I feel like there was one called like Ice or Iceman or something like that. Eve, who's the worst kid in Star Trek?
I'm trying to think of anyone else. I mean, I don't know. Naomi Wildman is pretty annoying at times. But I think it was more annoying the way 7 of 9 kept saying her name in full every time. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so annoying.
Naomi Wildman. Yeah. What about those Borg kids?
Yeah, they were quite annoying as well. I think Cirroc is one of the only ones that wasn't annoying, to be honest.
Yeah, the DS9 kids were good.
Yeah.
Well, I
we
think
had one kid.
Nog needed some timeouts initially, but then he grew out of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right from the start.
Yeah.
Like the first episode, he was in trouble.
He was in trouble.
Yeah, he was in instant trouble. He was he was a troublemaker. Also, I was thinking about that Jem'Hadar kid that grew up in that episode. Wasn't he kind of a badass?
Yeah.
He was scary.
He was very
He was
strong.
scary.
I don't know if he needed a timeout. He was scary as hell.
Yeah. He needed an ass whooping is what he needed.
Well, I wanted to say it, but I'm glad you did.
No, but that kid was kind of he was a tough kid right there to deal with.
Yeah.
Did we see much of Kirayoshi? I don't remember. I remember Kirayoshi being born, but I don't remember if we actually saw much of him.
Yeah, we did.
Cried a lot. He cried a lot.
He cried a lot. There's a great episode with Worf where Worf takes care of Kiriyoshi.
That was really good.
I remember Kiriyoshi being in the pit too. I remember it's the first time I think they called that part of off the pit. I remember it's just like you can't keep Kiriyoshi in the pit. But the pit was what kept Kiriyoshi quiet, like the hum of the neutrinos or whatever it was.
Right.
Thinking a little further, Ryan, there is somebody else I would add to the list about these kids. Honestly, it's an episode I avoid because of it.
I think I know.
Imaginary friend.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Little demon girl. I literally avoid that episode.
What was the name? Isabella, right? Where she kept going, Isabella. Isabella!
Yeah.
Like,
stop it. Right.
Stop.
That was so terrifying to me as a kid because I watched Heidi as a little girl, and the main child in that show played Heidi in my movie. And I'm like, I love her. This is great. And then all of a sudden, this demon child.
That girl from that episode was in, I believe, a Deep Space Nine episode later on, Cirroc, because I remember when we reviewed it, I immediately recognized her and looked her up, and it was the same girl, but I don't remember what character she was in Deep Space Nine. Do you guys remember? It was like maybe...
Yeah. I think she was down on that planet where it was a bunch of holograms and one person, and then she was wearing the weird...
That's the one. And Odo spins around, right, at the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good job, Homer.
That was very good. Yeah, that's when Odo turned himself into a top, right? And
yeah.
Spinning.
Oh, her. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of my favorite episodes.
Why?
I don't know. It's there was that followed by Paradise, which was another one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. But I don't know why. And those are the two stories I wish at some point they'd kind of gone back to visit to see how, the Hollow City is doing or the Paradise people are doing. So
that's Homer said that's how he felt about Meridian, how he just wished that they would go back and revisit that planet that may have gotten the lowest IMDb score ever.
No, I don't think so.
I think you may be confusing me with someone else. But it's okay. Yeah. No, I always thought, and I know this has been said before, that they should have gone back and revisited I think it's the Iosians from A Piece of the Action. That would have been, or might still be, interesting.
I think that might, I don't know if it was going to be a direct relation, but I think that's what Tarantino was interested in doing a movie about.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be neat. I would enjoy that.
What did Tarantino want to do a movie about?
He wanted to do like an R-rated Star Trek movie that had been in the news, like, I don't know, maybe towards the beginning of this year. And I think there was some talk that had something to do with that Pacific Action episode.
Yeah, super old school. And who better than Tarantino to do that one? That's right up his alley. Of course, that's what he wants to do, right? He doesn't want to do something about going out and fighting Klingons.
Yeah, I still can't see Tarantino doing any Star Trek. It's just still hard for me to merge the two in my head.
It would be totally different, wouldn't it? But I'd watch it. Sounds amazing.
It would be interesting, that's for sure.
It would. And, they talk about the short treks, and they allow you to explore different ways of doing Star Trek. Alex Kurtzman talked about, it could be a musical, it could be black and white or something. So maybe just to test it out, Tarantino could do a short. I think that would be nice.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I just thought that the last Discovery episode was way more violent than anything. Well, it just seemed to have a lot more sort of actual violence where you saw sort of blood and people actually being killed, which you don't tend to get that very often, do you? So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, Quentin would definitely, I think, do that. He would definitely go all out on that.
Or the hypodermic to the heart.
Nice reference there.
But can somebody ask to bring back pink Klingon blood?
Pink Klingon blood? What?
Yeah, I know. Like, nobody has done pink Klingon blood
Star Trek 6.
since Star Trek 6.
Oh.
Well,
So
I think
if Quentin does a movie, I want his Klingons to have pink blood. That's all I'm saying.
I think they put the pink blood in that movie to avoid the rating.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Interesting. Good thought.
Yeah, because Core in this episode mentioned red as the color of the blood.
Yeah. I've heard that before, red blood with them. No pink.
Was it Worf bleeding in this episode? He was actually bleeding, and Dax had her hand on his wound, and it was red. It was red blood.
Yeah, I think they retconned the pink blood, because otherwise blood wine would look like a Cosmo.
That's the real reason for it.
That's why.
Fair enough. But still.
Maybe it's different. Klingons have different color blood. They have dark ones and they have light ones. They have different ridges,
Like blood types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that, Homer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different blood
So
types have different colors.
Yeah, I don't know which one's more rare. Mm-hmm. But transfusions could be tricky.
You stay here. Your blood is pink.
That's right. We don't have a supply of pink blood in case you get hurt.
Well, we've got a little bit of time left, but do you guys, everybody have all of their plans for, I guess nobody really have many plans right now.
Where are we going?
Yeah, no, that's probably, what do you guys?
I'm going to the next room.
What are you guys going to be watching? You guys going to binge The Mandalorian?
Again?
Yeah, we're going to watch it again.
Yeah, I don't have Disney Plus, but I've considered subscribing. To check it out, since I think the second season's over now.
Yeah,
that's right. Titus, I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I have a question for everybody. Is there a holiday movie that you enjoy watching, kind of, every year or so? Is there one that stands out that that's my movie when it gets me in the mood?
Die Hard, Christmas Eve.
Yes, Die Hard, definitely.
Die Hard gets you in the mood, okay?
Yeah.
Not Die Hard, no.
No, Eve, what were you saying?
Yeah, Die Hard, yeah.
Oh,
Die Hard Christmas Eve movie, yeah.
Okay.
Yvette said no to Die Hard. Do you have a better one? You thinking Home Alone?
It's not my favorite, but I love Die Hard as a Christmas movie, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is Elf.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God.
Mark, what is our favorite Christmas movie? Come here, baby.
You gotta ask him.
Come and
I have two, but they're chick flicks.
Let's hear them.
Yeah.
A Holiday.
Christmas Carnivals, of course.
And Last Holiday.
Last Holiday, yes.
Last Holiday.
The Last Holiday?
Too. Last Holiday with Queen Latifah?
Yep.
Okay, yes, okay.
So, Miracle on 34th Street, the black and white edition. Black and white.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
I'm supposed to watch The Santa Claus. I've never seen it with Tim Allen.
Oh, I love those. I love them. Like,
good.
2 and 3 are not the best, but my goodness, they still have so much holiday spirit in them. I'm like, yay! Holiday movie I can put on in the background.
My wife keeps mentioning that I'm getting fatter and growing my beard like Tim Allen did in the original one. So she says you got to watch the movie.
But you look handsome, so you're doing it well.
Star Trek Generations is the best Christmas movie. Come on.
Oh.
Star Trek Generations. Sorry.
That's in the Nexus.
In the Nexus.
Yeah.
Right. Good knowledge.
It does count. There is Christmas in there, so he's got a fair point.
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Lord of the Rings because it has elves.
And they came out in December. They did come out during the holidays.
They really did.
I watch Harry
Star Trek has made a
every
Christmas
Christmas. For that.
There's a Christmas reference in Star Trek. I just need to.
Oh, Generations.
Generations.
Yeah. Not a good movie.
You know, I liked it better when I watched it more recently. I actually found it to be a good movie more recently. At first, I was like, but I like all the Next Generation movies. They're not all great, but I like them all. They're all on the plus side of like or dislike, you know, especially First Contact, of course.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I'm with Sue. Home Alone would be for Mom.
I don't know if I could say Home Alone that way.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, my connection's not very good today.
It sounded very Christmassy. You said Home
really
Alone.
did.
Like Rudolph. What about that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was the one I always watched when I was
Frosty,
a kid.
Peanuts.
It's a TV show.
The Charlie Brown Christmas.
My dad.
Yeah. So I have a confession. I haven't seen Die Hard yet. I haven't seen Elf. So I need to. Yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah.
So I would say mine.
It'll make you very
the one that
happy.
I like that is probably a go-to every year is Scrooged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Scrooge.
That's the one with Bill Murray, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And it makes me cry every time. You know, near the end.
I never seen that one.
Yeah,
that's
Bill
good.
Murray.
Me neither.
Scrooge.
Oh, come on.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's so. It's
Homer says, "Oh, come on," and he never saw Die Hard.
So I'll watch Die Hard. You guys watch Scrooged.
You have to watch Elf too.
And I've heard good things, and I haven't seen this either. But the Muppet Christmas.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah,
that's really good.
That reminded me of Trading Places with Bill Murray. That happened during Christmas.
Yeah, that counts.
Oh yeah, sure did.
Trading Place a Christmas movie. Yeah. Just too bad it has an 80s nude scene in the middle of it.
Oh, sorry. If y'all didn't know.
Wow.
Hey,
Alex.
Pointing in. That's Alex.
What's an 80s nude scene?
Right, I'm trying to figure
You know, in the
out.
80s, like every movie had a nude scene in it for some damn reason.
Oh, like yeah,
Caddyshack.
obligatory. Okay.
It was obligatory, gratuitous. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant there was.
Christmas Story.
An 80-year-old that was naked. That's what I thought.
No. There's just a whole bunch of stuff you can't watch with kids.
I just thought there was something like that made it, you know, specific to the 80s. You know, like certain nude scenes you could tell are from the 80s, and so that's what I thought he was going for.
Yeah, there are things, but I don't think.
But I know I'm glad we didn't go in that direct. No. That's why I'm glad that we understand exactly what he means. He just meant obligatory 80s, you know, or like Tim said, gratuitous.
Gratuitous nude scene. Yeah, every 80s movie.
My next favorite is The Holiday. Has nothing to do with Star Trek.
That's one of my favorites too. With Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, Kate Winslet, and Jack Black. Oh my goodness. Yep.
Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Have you guys seen California Christmas? A friend of mine directed it, and he said it's #1 on Netflix right now.
I've been trying to watch it. Every time I click on it, it won't let me actually watch it.
Well, I'll talk with Sean about that. Shout out to Sean Piccanino.
I want to watch it.
Oh, I have a question that has nothing to do with any of this but Deep Space Nine. When I watch it, the audio is off by like 3 seconds.
Yes, sometimes it is. Yes.
Always. I've gotten so that I literally am used to it, but it's really, why is that?
On CBS All Access?
Netflix.
Oh, see, I'm watching on CBS.
I can watch it on CBS. I can watch it on that.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but CBS All Access has its own audio issues where it's super quiet. You have to turn it up all the way just to barely have it the right level.
You have to do the closed captions.
I do,
yeah. I thought that was me, but the volume is really low on CBS All Access. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I have a problem with CBS All Access, Ryan, you can get your tie on for this one.
I know, I was going to say, where's your tie?
But no, it's the fact that, so I watch DS9 and Discovery religion, like that's the only thing I watch on CBS All Access. So you would think when I log in, it would put those shows at the top of the menu bar because I'm always watching those shows. But yet I can't get Deep Space Nine to come up at all. I always have to go into dramas and look at it.
Or type in deep into the search, and then you get like 3.
I watch it. I literally only watch that show and Discovery, so those 2 shows should pop up on the algorithm first for me to go and pick up where I left off.
It's like, hello, welcome back, Cirroc. What'll it be? You're like, it's me. What do you think I'm watching? I watch the same thing every time. What do you think? It's me.
But it always puts other things that I don't watch always at the top of the thing. And I'm like, I never click on those things. I never watch them. So why are they trying to force that down my throat when the thing that I do watch, they're not giving it to me? I have to really search for it.
God, that is a perfect nitpick. That you really needed a tie for that one. It's perfect. So good.
That was my nitpick of the day. Yes.
Especially because you really felt it.
Yeah.
You should contact CBS and throw your weight around, Cirroc. Say, look, I'm in some of this stuff. I want everything I'm in to be at the top.
I mean, hello. Now they should figure that out by now. Jeez.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah. Well, I guess we got to go now. We want to end on a high note like that. We'll all contact CBS and let them know, like this. This will not stand.
Next year,
a rant. End on a rant.
This will not stand, man.
We will not have this.
Anyway, very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Timothy Baum, Titus Mohler, Sue Gruner, Eve England, Yvette Blackmon, Tom, Natasha Louise, and her iPad. And Alex Courtney back there too.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
All right, in the house.
Cirroc, we had a fun time. Is this our last? No, we have one more recording for the year. And it's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you soon, okay?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Like button. Hit that like button.
Hit the like.
Or else.
I like that hat, Yvette. That's a beautiful. It looks great on you. I mean, it's like.
Thank you so much.
It's very beautiful on you.
So sweet. Thank you.
Always remember the 7th rule. We're very sweet.